everyone, my name is Casey Johnson, and I love video games. One of the things that I love about games is that the landscape of games is always changing. Gaming is a world of constant innovation, constant announcements, constant hardware, and constant failure. Today, we're going to talk about one thing that was a little bit of all four of those.
2 years ago today, Google held a press conference at which they promised an announcement that would change the gaming landscape forever. What they announced was arguably the most promising innovation in gaming history, something that would enable you to experience the best in gaming without having to own anything other than a screen and a controller. 2 years ago, Google Stadia was announced.
But of course, the entire road hasn't been as smooth as many would like, so let's do a case study. Now, we all know Google, from the Chromecast to YouTube to the Google Drive to Google Pixel, Google Chrome, the Chromebook, Translate, Maps, not to just mention the old-fashioned Google search. They're everywhere. Every once in a while, I go to Bing and search for Google just to show them who's boss.
Until 2019, however, one place that Google had never seemed to dive into much was gaming. Really, if you think about it, it's a shock. We take things like the PlayStation and Xbox for granted, but they both started with Sony and Microsoft deciding just to jump into this whole gaming thing. If there's a prototype for the type of company that would become a gaming juggernaut, it's Google. For whatever reason, however, the Google console just never existed. By mid-2018, however, rumors had it that that's exactly what they were planning. Really, it was the worst kept secret in gaming. When they started making hires like poaching Richard Marks from Sony, it was clear that gaming was the next endeavor for Google. By late 2018, the details were coming into focus. The project had the code name Project Yeti, and it was a streaming service. Now, Google tested out their proof of concept with Project Stream, where they streamed Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is not an Assassin's Creed game, fight me, through the internet.
The response was overwhelmingly positive. It just worked, even on the worst, oldest laptops with the worst hardware. If you had a good internet connection, you had a game.
Streaming games were nothing new. Nvidia had GeForce, and Microsoft was rumored to be working on Project xCloud, where games from the Xbox library could be streamed to you. And there were even rumblings of Amazon working on what became Luna, which is now in early access. The idea is simple, really.
The game data is streamed from data servers to your device in little chunks. The device will download the data that's needed for what you're doing right now and then prepare the next chunk so you have a seamless experience. This is just a data download. There's no need for expensive graphic cards and there's no need for expensive processors. The game is just like streaming on Netflix or Twitch.
By now, the gaming industry by and large knew that. The question is what the pricing model would look like and how Google would get hardcore gamers to subscribe. 2 years ago today, Google made the official announcement at a press conference, and they answered those questions. Kinda. The name of the project was officially revealed, Stadia, and Google CEO Sundar Pichai came on stage in front of a live audience, man, you remember live audiences? In front of a live audience, and immediately started Stadia off on the wrong foot.
I'm actually not a big gamer, though I do play FIFA 19 quite a bit and really enjoy how immersive it is. I also play Ashes cricket quite a bit, and for those of you who are wondering what cricket is, it's kind of like baseball, but better.
I don't know about you, but I feel like he gets me.
Yeah, I think it's fairly obvious that Sundar Pichai was only here for the name value, but luckily Phil Harrison, who previously worked for Microsoft and Sony alike, came out and put things into more focus. Games were important, and Google wanted to be in that space, but they felt hardware was unnecessary. They had a simple goal. He stated, "Our platform for Stadia is to reduce the friction between getting excited about a game and playing a game." With streaming, that was a possibility. Google planned to integrate Stadia into all of its platforms, being able to jump from game to video to game again in an instant. The rest of the show was impressive. Google showed off the logistics abilities of not having to be connected to hardware at all times and brought out developers like id Software to say all the right things. The reaction in the industry was massive, and it was universally agreed. If Google got this right, the industry would never be the same.
So here we are in 2021, and the PS5 and Series X are so popular they can't even hit store shelves yet. The Switch is constantly selling out everywhere, and obviously the industry is unchanged by and large. Stadia came out with a little bit of a whimper rather than a shout. So what went wrong, man? Did anything go wrong? Where is Stadia headed? Well, I don't know. I'm not a Stadia subscriber, so first let me subscribe real quick.
A part of me just died. As soon as I subscribed, I started looking at the store, and I'm both pleasantly and unpleasantly surprised at the exact same time. I mean, on one hand, it's all here. Every third-party game you could want. Cyberpunk 2077, we'll get to that. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, heck, Little Nightmares 2, which just came out, is free for Pro members. 2K, Madden, Last Jedi, Avengers, Ghost Recon, it's all here.
On the other hand, like, what haven't I seen here? Like, it's Cyberpunk and Valhalla, Red Dead 2, it's everything third party. Nothing is unique to this store. I don't know, there are like 30 Stadia exclusives, but I haven't heard of any of them, and when I scroll through this store, it just feels like I'm scrolling through my backlog.
Of course, despite what my mom says, I'm not an idiot. The pull for Stadia isn't the games, it's the method. You buy a game, you play it immediately, on any screen, and like they said, it's reducing the friction. For its part, it works pretty well. Booting up into a game is seamless. My biggest fear was that I would press a button and notice a delay in the game responding. I haven't had that issue, really. Of course, everything is dependent on the quality of your internet. You'll need Wi-Fi because gaming uses about 2 gigabytes of data per hour, which isn't feasible if you only have mobile data. But I tested it at work, at home, at a friend's house, and despite the occasional lag, it works pretty well.
I will say, there's a real novelty to playing a AAA game on my phone or on a laptop with no download time. I can pick up the gameplay wherever it is that I left off, even in the case of lag. It's awesome. I can be on the couch watching something with my girlfriend and be playing an open world RPG at the same time. It's actually really cool, and it just works.
And this comes in handy. During the Cyberpunk 2077 fiasco, Google Stadia got some press for actually being the best version of the game. I have a friend who's been a Stadia subscriber since the inception of Stadia, and she loves it for that very reason. It's portable, and it works.
As a hardcore gamer, however, I struggle to see Stadia's place in the market, and I think Google does too. Recently, they announced in a surprise move that they'll be closing down their internal development studios, and that means that Stadia isn't going to have any internally produced exclusives like they promised.
Phil Harrison was quoted as pointing towards Microsoft and Xbox's acquisition of ZeniMax and along with it Bethesda as part of the reason they shuttered the doors of Stadia Games and Entertainment. To me, this means one of two things. Firstly, Google may have seen the investment as an indicator of the level of commitment it takes to be a major player in gaming, commitment they aren't willing to have. Otherwise, and equally likely in my opinion, what could have happened is some bigwig at Google saw the acquisition and said,
"Wait, we can just buy Game Studio? We're Google, let's buy."
But either way, right now is a scary time for Stadia subscribers, and they're not sure about the future of their platform. And that's just the story, isn't it? I mean, for every plus, there seems to be a negative.
Stadia works with minimal jitters, but those jitters seem to negate the plus of not having to deal with the hardware running your game. Stadia is cheap to buy in at $130, and if you have your own device and controller, then it's just the price of the subscription. But with the lack of hardware, you're actually beholden to the power of your Wi-Fi even to play offline games, and that's another thing. Stadia is easy if you have good Wi-Fi, but a lot of people don't. Around 15% of people in America have no access to the internet at all, and for many of those other 85% that do, their mobile data plan is all that they have. Much less those who have Wi-Fi, how many of them have it good enough to play? And if you have Wi-Fi, then you have easy access to your favorite third-party games, but a lack of first-party games leaves much to be desired. This, of course, is combined with the competitors entering the market, most notably Microsoft xCloud and Amazon Luna. And in my opinion, as a subscriber to all three, they both do it better.
With Amazon Luna, at least in early access, it looks like you subscribe to channels. There's a Luna Plus channel and it's got quite a few games on it, but there's also a Ubisoft channel where you can have all the Ubisoft games for a subscription fee. I'm a Ubisoft nut, so this appeals to me, and Amazon's history, especially with Prime Video, shows that this is a business model they're willing to stick with. On Amazon Prime Video, you can get the HBO channel or the Comedy Central channel with all of the available programming included in that subscription. I like this a lot better than having just a normal subscription plus having to buy all the games. Then there's Microsoft xCloud, which is bundled in with Game Pass Ultimate. It's still in beta, but including your cloud gaming and what is already the best value in all of entertainment is just ridiculous. I get all of these games, I can play them on the cloud, then also on my Xbox and PC, and all of my progression cross-saves. Google is not competing with that.
But are they trying to? I mean, at the end of the day, what even is Stadia? It's $5 a month I'm willing to spend to access the games that I already bought for it, and on the go at that. But without exclusives, I fail to see it as the kind of thing that's going to surge the industry forward. I mean, is cloud gaming the future? It has a future, but until everyone has really good internet, I don't know that it can truly take over. And I think in the last 2 years, Google has shown that they probably don't want to commit to make that happen, and the infamous Google graveyard is proof they have a record of not sticking to projects.
But if Stadia enters the graveyard, I think it would be a shame. Because it really does work, and when it's flawless, it can't be topped. Playing Assassin's Creed on my phone never loses its luster whatsoever. It's amazing, so all I can say is, if you're interested, try it out with a free trial and see for yourself. You might be surprised. And until then, at least Sundar Pichai can play FIFA on it.
Wait, FIFA isn't even on Stadia? That's the only game that he plays?